Welcome to the Bearded Bro Show podcast. I am one half your host, Dustin, and we are forever joined by
Trav, as always. How's it going, guys? Yeah, I don't know what else I was going to say there, but we will continue.
I don't know why when you said that. Okay, Trista was streaming one day, and Trista was talking to our friend Jordan in the chat, and she's like, "Oh, how's it going, Jordan?" And he put "it going." She goes, "Yeah, it going too." Or no, I doing, or something. I can't remember. He's like, "I doing." I think he would say, "I'm doing well," but he just sent "I doing," and Trista's like, "I doing too."
Wow, it's kind of that thing whenever you I did it to somebody the other day. I think they said it's when they don't say "have a good day," but you respond with "you too."
Trista just
and
said
I can't
that the
remember
other day
what
too.
I can't remember what it was that this person said, but as soon as I turn around to walk away after saying it, I'm like, oh, in my head, I'm like, that is so embarrassing to say something like that.
That literally just happened to Trista the other day, too. Didn't somebody tell you to have a good lunch? Or a good lunch and you're like, "You too," or something?
Yeah, and they're not on lunch or whatever. It's just like, have a good day off, you too, and they're, working the rest of the week. It's just I don't know, I catch it only after I say it every time. I never, my brain doesn't catch it beforehand. I always say it. You want to tell them what we're kind of gonna go in? I'll, let them know what we're gonna go into, but then I'll tell my, kind of two quick stories right before we go into it.
Yes. So today we are going to be talking about The Founder, which is a movie that came out in 2016 featuring Michael Keaton. But before we get into it, basically this whole episode is about McDonald's. Because that's what The Founder is about. But we'll get into that.
Just letting you know, just as a spoiler for you guys, McDonald's is what this is about.
Yes, and Trav has a story about the new meal regarding Travis Scott, and then I want to talk about his merch that he released in collaboration with McDonald's. And when you guys hear these prices, it's absolutely outrageous that this man charges this much money for a freaking t-shirt. Travis thought I was going to say the bad word, but I didn't.
Honestly, what you just said at the end was a blur, so I didn't hear it anyway, but because I was gathering my thoughts. Everybody does that. Everyone freaking does that out there. Don't hate me. All right, so sorry, Lucas, I didn't mean to scream that, but we're starting it, guys. This is uncut, man. I don't script anything ever. So funny story about just this podcast episode in general. We're going to step outside and look at breaking the fourth wall, as you could say. Mm-hmm. So literally me and Ashley laid in bed the other night about to go to sleep, and I randomly, it's like I felt something through the force. I randomly talked to her about and I've told Dustin about this. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast. It may have been whenever it was Trav Talks, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll tell the story again. But I used to, whenever The Founder came out, at a point, just to keep it brief, a tick bit me. I had a swollen lymph node, and I about died. So, that's a whole other story. I was sick in bed for literally, 2 weeks, just literally, could not move, barely anyway, just constant, fever, my Tylenol, ibuprofen every 2 hours, literally trying to, fight this thing. And eventually, because the doctor gave me medicine, and it went down. Anyway, The Founder had came out, right at the beginning of that. So I've actually got The Founder on right now on mute, but even when I see these scenes with this movie, I think of being sick, which I hate. I hate that because this movie's really good, but I do get this feeling of I remember being sick. It's kind of like whenever you just, I don't know, you're watching something and you throw up a lot and you almost could taste freaking vomit thinking about it. But anyway, so I reflected on that with Ashley. I was we have this joke or whatever where we'll say something like a food item, and while we're watching something like Taco Bell and Game of Thrones or whatever, just and we make revving sounds because we're we're gonna go drive real quick. It's just a weird every couple has a weird kind of inside jokes that they only do. So at least I think so, but unless we're just weird. But so I was like, McDonald's and the founder, and I was like, remember when we did that, like right before I got sick or whatever? And she's like, yeah, and like she was drifting. So that was like literally the last thing I said is remember the founder or whatever. And then the next day, I get an effing text from Dustin saying, I highly recommend that you watch The Founder. We have never talked about it before, maybe briefly.
No, never.
But
I never
literally,
knew it was a movie until I was told by my boss.
We have mentioned on this podcast before about the people call it the butterfly effect. I don't know the technical name for it, but that whole like you see something somewhere and then it's talked about. That is a prime example of holy crap. I have not talked to Ashley about The Founder in so freaking long, and I randomly remembered it. Kind of like whenever a movie just comes to your mind and you don't know why, it just like The Founder just entered my brain.
That movie's 4 years old, too,
literally
by
the next day, it wasn't even a day after that, 2 days after that. It was the following morning when I woke up. The first text I saw was, we need to talk about The Founder because I highly recommend that. And I was like, dude, I watched that like 2 or 3 years ago when I was really sick, told Dustin about that. Anyway, that's one of the stories. The second story is kind of like a little bit dumber in a way, but like I was fighting between two different things to review today, to record anyway. Not edited yet, but I wanted to get them filmed. So, one of them is something else, and then the other one is the Travis Scott meal that just came out at McDonald's.
Came out today. On the 8th.
I do what?
It came out today on the 8th.
Yeah, and it's kind of been like people are reviewing it and stuff like that, and the crew and everything way before that. It's just a thing. Like, I don't know, like maybe some places are kind of testing it further, but you know how it is where you can just ask for something and maybe, just maybe, and a few times this has happened with me, just maybe they can put it together before it actually is officially released. But anyway, so I decided to review the Travis Scott meal today, record that, without even thinking about, wait a second, we're going to talk about The Founder today. Like, literally another coincidence. Like, it just, like, because I didn't decide Travis Scott meal based on what me and Dustin are going to do today. So that was literally just two things after the other that was revolving around, I guess the universe is trying to tell me, talk about McDonald's on your podcast. I don't know why, but anyway, shall we begin? Or what? Well, you were going to talk about those weird something with Travis Scott.
Okay, so Travis Scott, this man must be hurting for some money or something, or in need of a collaboration. So he collabed with McDonald's. All right, cool. Go get the Travis Scott meal. Eat like Travis Scott. Like, that's their whole pitch. And yes, it's a great promotion. It's going to drive people there. I like Travis Scott. My fiance likes Travis Scott. My 7-year-old son likes Travis Scott because of the Fortnite thing. And it's like, it's cool and all, you know, like it's different. I definitely, with everything going on, it's something unique. But Travis Scott, being Travis Scott, released merch. And if you guys know anything about him and his merch, it's all very hard to get. Like all his Astroworld t-shirts and like everything that he did with that whole tour, super hard to get. Like he had like Astroworld shirts like in a collaboration with Off-White, and these t-shirts were like super limited and expensive. This man is selling t-shirts with a McDonald's logo on them for $48. $48 for a fucking t-shirt.
That's nuts.
Listen, I was telling Trav this too. There's denim shorts. Just normal denim shorts with the McDonald's golden arches on the back. $250. $90 for a body pillow shaped like a chicken McNugget. Listen, I told Trav, if I pay $250 for a pair of denim shorts, they better like have a robot in there that anytime I shit myself, it just wipes my butt for me.
Oh, man.
I can't fathom it.
And it's kind of another example of the universe pointing me towards something. Is recently, I don't think you've seen it yet, Dustin, but recently I saw Tenet.
I have not seen it. I have not been to a movie
theater. He did. I don't know if he did the whole score. I might be wrong on that. You guys can correct me. But he did compose some music. I'll just say some music in Tenet. And I had no idea until the credits roll. And like Ryan was with me, And he was like, huh, Travis Scott, cool. And then he was like looking up some information about all that because he knew about him. And then recently the McDonald's thing happened, and I'm like, where have I heard that name recently? And then it just clicked out of nowhere when I literally saw a suggested video of like Tenet and a certain song that's in the movie in the soundtrack by Travis Scott. And I'm like, oh, duh, literally, like, and I know the Tenet thing has nothing to do, it's not like an attachment with McDonald's, but it's just really interesting that, like, his name's just popping up out of nowhere. It's like, okay, he did some score in the movie Tenet. He's got the McDonald's thing going. And, like, really just recently was me researching and finding out just a bunch of stuff about him. Because, like, I'd never really, before this, I may sound stupid, but I hadn't really heard much about him, to be honest. Like, but that's the discovery factor of stuff like this, where movies, music, and stuff like that, there's just certain things where you just kind of find out later about. And him putting his name out there, and there hasn't been a promotional thing with McDonald's since Michael Jordan, and it's like, that's been a long time. So that's kind of crazy.
It has been. And the thing is too, and you hear my fiance rolling up a Cheetos bag in the background. It's okay, we love her. They're good.
That is so freaking random.
It's okay. Don't be sorry. It's okay. It's all right. So I was gonna say, Travis Scott really became popular, I would say, over like the last couple years. Like I've known about him, and he had a couple songs that like weren't super big, but like I listened to and I was like, oh yeah, it's cool, you know. And then he like really blew up when his whole Astroworld album came out. Like that was the one that like really skyrocketed his career. And then, you know, he has a documentary on Netflix, if you want to check it out, Trav. It's called Look Ma, I Can Fly. Great documentary about his life and kind of how he got to where he is in music. And it's awesome. But, you know, instead of paying $48 for a t-shirt, go to the Bearded Bro Show merch shop and spend like $10 on a t-shirt.
Good plug.
Mm-hmm.
DC Bros, guys. AKA, I'll call it Bat Bros as well. I love that so much. It's such a good looking logo. Thank you, Jake. So, do you want to move on to the founder?
Yes, the founder.
Michael freaking Keaton, man.
Michael Keaton. So I kind of
what an amazing actor.
And it was just his birthday the other day too.
That's funny.
It is.
See, the universe is trying to tell us something.
So it's really funny. I kind of want to talk about how I heard about the movie. So I kind of like you, like at your job, like you have kind of like a higher up that you're like close with, you know. One of my managers, David, love the guy to death. Absolutely, he is probably like my favorite person there. Next to my other manager named Hearn. David and I have that type of relationship where like we mess with each other. Like David can like flip me off and like I can flip David off and it's funny, you know, like we can make jokes and like we have that type of relationship. And he was like, we were talking about movies. Like every now and again, David and I will get into like this big discussion about movies that are on Netflix or in the theaters because we like a lot of the same things, like especially TV shows. David and I have talked for hours at work about Breaking Bad, just because it's like between both of us, like it's a show that we really, really love. And he was like, hey, I watched this movie on Netflix, and he likes McDonald's. He goes there all the time. And he's like, you know, I watched this movie on Netflix. It was called The Founder. And he was like, it was about McDonald's. And the way he described it to me at first, before he told me who was in it, it sounded like a docuseries. And I was like, oh, like I instantly thought of like Super Size Me and things like that. And I was like, nah, like, I don't know. And then he was like, oh no, Michael Keaton plays Ray Kroc. And he was like, and it's like, he's kind of like a swindler. Like, you really learn a lot about it. So I told Trista about it, and I think we ended up watching something else one night. And then one night I was like, you know what, like, let's watch The Founder. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And we did. Oh, we watched 1BR. That's what it was. And then it was like the next night we watched The Founder. And we were pleasantly surprised with how good that movie is. And it really kind of changes your perspective about McDonald's. And it's actually kind of funny because I worked for McDonald's back in high school, and so did Trista. And they praise Ray Kroc. Like, oh, Ray Kroc. You know, McDonald's wouldn't be anything without Ray Kroc. And that is all a crock of shit, pun intended.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, what are you taking away from the founder, like, by the end. Because I know that, and at the beginning it says, and everyone should know that whenever movies have the based on true events thing, doesn't necessarily mean that every single detail of this is 100% like exactly how it happened. But
Right.
it's obviously like, but it's based on the events itself in a way.
Yes.
And
you got to think about it too in like the sense like this is Hollywood, if it was going to be 100% accurate, it would have to go like the more docu-series route. They have to like change things and spice it up a little bit because it again, it sounds like a docu-series, but it's not. It's like a legitimate movie. So yes, I'm sure they had to like tweak some things and change some things and make it all kind of fit, and to work in a movie instead of like a documentary. So yeah, it's not all, I'm sure, like all happen like that, but a lot of this, like at the end of the movie, they do kind of spit some facts out, and I looked it up, and yeah, it's very much true, like kind of how this whole thing had played out. And honestly, I kind of don't like Ray Kroc. Like that was just my feelings at the end of it. It's like, and even like midway through the movie, like when I realized what he was doing, I was like, wow, like that's actually like a really dick move, and
yeah, and he was a dick the entire time.
Yeah, he was.
Like just on those scenes of like, what is it? I was paying attention to one of the scenes earlier because I kind of needed to like rewatch, because it literally, like I said, since I was sick, I hadn't seen The Founder since then. So kind of homework for the podcast, I told Dustin I'm going to put on The Founder and just like kind of just indulge and make sure that I'm kind of caught up, and like, because it's been so long since I've seen it, I just need a refresher. But like there's scenes where he's like legitimately getting so mad, and like let me just put this out there, Michael Keaton, you just play a freaking pissed off guy so well.
He's
just
good at
like
being
so
an
freaking
asshole.
well.
He
plays that so well, and I applaud you, sir, for like just really diving into that idea of like it's so good. And like that older man like standards, like the scenes where he's like, it's like, oh, this and this, like finding issues in his kitchen in the different cities and stuff like that. And then he finds the one guy that he's like, and this, and he's about to yell at him for no reason. He's like, and this is actually pretty good. Good job. Like, or something like that. Like, it reminds me of so many like higher ups and bosses and stuff like that that I've seen. And just like, and just that whole like, just like that mentality of if it's not the best of the best, then like he's freaking flipping tables. And yeah, I mean, like if Ray Kroc really was like this, it does kind of like put that perspective on just McDonald's in general, and like how, I mean, the thing is, there's a reason that this was made. They're trying to show you, hey, maybe you guys don't know the real story. And then whoever, I don't even know who directed this, honestly, and I'm usually pretty good about that.
Yeah, and it was a super good movie. And I do want to talk about the movie, so just a heads up, like if you have not seen this and you plan on seeing this, maybe skip this part of the podcast until the end, because there's going to be spoilers here.
Go watch The Founder and come back to us.
Yeah, there you go. Pause it, because there's going to be spoilers. Go watch The Founder. Come back.
It's literally like not even, almost a solid 2 hours. I mean, 2 hours of your time. Come on.
Yeah,
go watch The Founder.
And it's good. It's like, I don't want to use the word riveting, but like, I mean, it holds your attention the whole time. And I feel like that's kind of hard to do with, especially with movies based around certain things. Like I was skeptical. Like I said, when my manager was describing it to me, I was like, man, like I don't know. And he was like, no, like I'm telling you. And like if David can tell me like, no, listen, like you need to watch this movie, I'm gonna listen to him, because like I said, we like similar things. We have very similar interests in movie and TV. So when he told me, he's like, you're gonna like it. I liked it a lot. But basically, it's kind of funny, like how McDonald's really isn't even like a restaurant at this point, because if you guys don't know, McDonald's is franchised. Like if you worked for McDonald's or you know anything about the McDonald's in your town, it's owned by like a family, usually like some guy who invested in it, and he basically pops these restaurants up wherever, like I think where I live, like this owner that owns the 2 McDonald's in my town owns like 2 others like a little bit farther south, like closer to the city, as well. So it's like they're all franchise owned, and it's funny because if you watch The Founder, you find out kind of what Ray Kroc does is starts a real estate company, and Ray Kroc owns this land, and if you want to build a McDonald's there, you rent the land from McDonald's, right? And then you just own the store and you take a cut of whatever the profits are. So McDonald's really isn't even like a restaurant. McDonald's is a fucking real estate company, and it is one of the biggest real estate companies in the entire world because of the way Ray Kroc did things. But when we get more into it, you kind of see how he went about it is really shitty.
'Cause money.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that justifies what he did, but literally the whole way that this could have been changed, and like we said, spoilers, is if those 2 brothers literally would have held their own and like just said no, but the money sounded good, contract with this guy sounded good, just, like that's what I really enjoy about Michael Keaton in this role, is like he's portraying this like he's a snake, just like he's talking you into it. He's like, there's so many times where there's like 5 different moments in the movie where he's like basically just like doing I hit my mic, sorry Lucas, a speech, like he's like talking people into things, and like that's kind of what he does, is
he starts out as a salesman basically.
Yeah, and even being dishonest at first, just like, I'm out here for business or whatever. No, he came straight to wherever from, I don't even know how far he had to go, just to visit this McDonald's. And like, I love his reaction to the fast food aspect, because just like, where do I eat it and stuff like that, because like that's something we're so used to now. And then just thinking about how back then, and also thinking about like a few cents for each thing, is insane. I wish it still was like that.
Like back then,
and how much money a place could make if something was like 5 cents or whatever nowadays. But
back then, it was 35 cents for a cheeseburger and a Coke for a meal. Cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke, right. 35 cents.
If they would have said no, literally, like how it would be now. I'm just like trying to imagine like my whole childhood, like I ate at McDonald's, like, and it's just so crazy to think about. Like, would there just literally be that one store, or maybe one day, maybe at one point they go out of business, or just like it just literally because they said yes to Ray Kroc, this is the path that it was taken. Whereas like they could have hired somebody to do pretty much the same thing that wasn't a dick.
Right.
And
like
they he literally like too. Played them, like even down to the scene where like I paid close attention to this when I was watching it this time. He's like flipping through the contract. I don't know if this is based on like somebody in that room telling the story of like him just flipping through the contract and not caring. I don't know if Ray Kroc actually did it that way in that moment in time, but he just like flipped through the contract in the movie and barely read anything. Like, so that shows me like he didn't care. He just was like thinking about the money aspect, and he's an adventurer with like ideas, and like how like there's so many scenes in the movie where he like can't sleep, and he's like putting off spending time with his wife and like all this stuff.
Who he really ends up divorcing, by the way.
Do what?
Who he ends up divorcing, by the way.
Yeah, and so it's literally like, and she's trying to be there. Like I forgot her name off the top of my head, but she's in Jurassic Park. But love her performance as a just wife that's like just kind of frustrated with her husband just being the way he is. And like she even says when she's walking up the stairs, they're kind of arguing, she's like, I've supported you through everything, even your schemes. I'm like, ooh, okay, so he has done stuff like this before, but at that point in the movie he hasn't made the deal about McDonald's yet, but there's just obvious issues. And he's even interested in this one girl where that is married, and it's just kind of like, you're just creepy, bro. But like I said, Michael Keaton plays that beautifully. It just, if all of this is fairly true, then yeah, Ray Kroc sucks. It really gives you perspective on that.
I know too. I remember too from working there and watching the videos and learning about him. Basically, how this whole thing with him starts and how the movie starts is he, I guess, owns this company where he's trying to sell these multi-mixers for like milkshakes, so you can make like up to 4 milkshakes at once or something like that. And this takes place in like 1964 or whenever. It was way back when. And,
yeah, 54, yeah.
Yeah, and he's going back and he's going to all these like different dine-in, like drive up, full service restaurants basically. It's like almost like how Sonic's is today. These people would like bring out this tray and like a full cooked meal and they'd stick it on your car and you'd eat in your car. And like he gets a call from like his secretary and she's like, "Hey, look, there's this place. They want 6 multi-mixers." And he like calls them and it's McDonald's out in California. And they're like, "Oh no, you better make it 8." And he goes out there and that's when he discovers like fast food. Basically, these two brothers, whose last name were McDonald, opened up a restaurant called McDonald's. And they started fast food. Like, when you get that service at McDonald's, the way everything works, like how it works like a well-oiled machine. It's because of those two brothers, not because of Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc literally gets he honestly shouldn't have any fucking credit into the company at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because there's even moments where he like says at the dinner table, like, "I founded this in 1954. He's literally lying to other people's faces.
Mm-hmm.
And that part is like takes the cake over all of it for me, where he's not only kind of taking over their company in a way, like by making it more of a company, but also like making sure he leads it. That lying aspect, that's like that right there. And it was needed in the movie. I'm glad we had like a couple lines in the script that like portray him as like, not only is he doing this kind of in a bad way to make money, but he's also a really big liar.
Yeah,
so
and the whole thing too is his character progression in the movie is fantastic because like it starts out and you almost kind of feel bad for the guy. He's traveling all over the United States trying to sell these multi-mixers, and these people are basically like, "Get the fuck out, man. I don't care. I don't want your stupid multi-mixer. Shove it up your ass." And you kind of feel bad for him, and it's like, like this guy is literally losing everything, and he goes back to his hotel and he like calls his wife and he's like, "Oh, it's doing great. Like I sold so many, there's so much interest," and he's not selling anything at all. And I don't even think he ended up selling the things to the brothers to begin with, to be honest with you, because like he talked about it, they put in that order for like 8 or 12 or something. I don't think they ever got them. But in the movie, the brothers mentioned when he was like, "Oh, why don't you guys franchise?" And they're like, "No, we tried that. And like we had 2 other stores open and one was like serving fried chicken and corn on the cob or something." And he's like, "That's not what McDonald's is. Like McDonald's is what we have." And they shut the franchises down, and they had like the brothers had kind of like this frame picture, like a concept art of the Golden Arches. And Ray took that and made all his restaurants look like that and gave no credit to the brother that designed it. None whatsoever. Like the Golden Arches wasn't even Ray's thing. None of it was Ray's
literally
thing.
Right whenever he's starting, like there's a part before it becomes like the big company it is. There's a scene where he's showing like these pamphlet things, folders to like different like cities and stuff, and he literally opens all of this madness with like starting to tell people, I call them the Golden Arches. I call them the Golden Arches. He keeps saying it like that, and so you already know from that point, like, oh man. And like the more calls he has to the brothers and stuff, just the more you're like, oh, this is just a crap show, man. Like, just like in how, one, and there's even some great character moments between like the brothers where like one is actually like, you know what, just give him some time and stuff like that, and the other one is way more stern about everything.
And he's like, fuck Ray.
I love those two guys too. Those guys that play those two guys are just brilliant job, guys. And just like different things, like a lot of the character progressions and stuff, like you said, is just so good, and it just really is a view to like how things went down. And yeah, Ray Kroc's a dick. I keep saying, even though one of the brothers' name's Dick.
Yep. Dick McDonald. And so the movie progresses, there's things like Trav said, he's trying to get people to buy into this franchise, and he's promised them all this and that, and there's a point in time where he almost loses everything, and then he links up with this guy, because he like remortgaged his house for money and didn't tell his wife because he needed money. And so that was a whole thing. And he like ran into this guy who was like an attorney or some sort, and this guy was like, no, this is what you do, you buy the land. And it just kind of came to this point where he was just treating the brothers like shit, and he's just growing this empire of McDonald's. And it kind of ends off with him buying the brothers land, and he's like, no, you're gonna do it my way. And he does. Everything the brothers have worked for, he just kind of made his. And they sat down at a table, and they're like, if we sell, we want this much money. It was like 1.3 million or 1.7 million a piece or something like that. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, you'll get your money, but we have to do this on a handshake basis. So basically, like, I'll meet up, I'll give you the money, we shake on it, whatever. And the brothers agreed to it. The brothers never got any of that money. And as of in 2016, at that point in time, in 2016, the brothers would have amassed a fortune over $100 million each. And Ray Kroc fucked them out of everything. And he, like, sued them. Not only did he buy their land, he took away their rights to call the place McDonald's and use the golden arches. So everything they had and they started, he took from them. And they got no money for it at all. Nothing. And no credit. Like, you work for McDonald's and you watch the tapes, you don't learn anything about those two people.
It's insane. Absolutely insane. Who's like, I'm sure Ray Kroc, I don't know really any facts about him today. He's no longer around, is he?
No, he's dead.
Okay. So who's like technically the big guy of it now, or do we really even know?
I don't know, because it's all weird because it's all franchises.
Yeah, true. I guess it's not technically like a single. It's just like a company run with probably multiple managers, yada yada. But I was just wondering if maybe there's like a guy on the throne of the whole thing now. But I guess it was a different time then too. Franchises like this usually have more of like multiple of like that kind of thing, and obviously because it's a bigger company, it's just obvious.
Like that's the thing is like Trav and I can literally, if we wanted to, could franchise a McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like Trav and I could like figure it out, get a loan for construction, and find out whatever land McDonald's owns that they want to pop something up in, and Trav and I can own that McDonald's, or franchise that McDonald's. We wouldn't own the land; we'd rent the land that the McDonald's is on. It's a super easy thing to do, but like, it's just kind of shitty. Like if that you open a location and you franchise and it doesn't do well, McDonald's can pull the plug. Yeah. But yeah, it's so funny because if you look it up, McDonald's really isn't a restaurant. It's a fucking real estate company. That's it.
Yeah. And I was telling Dustin before we started recording, so many better fast food places out there anyway, so up yours, McDonald's. You have a freaking evil emperor behind the scenes anyway back in the day, so I don't know. It does make you look kind of down on it, but like that was literally me and Ashley's thing whenever we watched that, whenever it came out, is we literally got McDonald's and watched The Founder. Like we literally ate it while watching. So it's kind of like a fun thing, but like you kind of find out before, because I knew hardly anything about The Founder before I watched it. I literally just went in just like, I don't even know what this is necessarily going to be about. Like, maybe back then I didn't even know, okay, the name behind the madness, like, I didn't really know who Ray Kroc was. So, I've known stuff about McDonald's and found out through the years, but not really too much. So, it was just interesting to find out, oh, this movie is, like, about, like, spiraling into, like, taking over something, like, madness, like, absolutely, like, the emperor building his empire, like, literally, like, and I didn't know that. I didn't realize when I watched it how, like, dark's really not the word, but how heavy I guess it was going to get. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, because like you said, at the beginning, you feel for the man. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. Like, really quick into the movie, you start to realize, okay, he's literally getting more and more evil the more, because it's literally greed. That's all it is. Like, absolute 100%. Nobody else matters but me and making this place. And you got to I'm not saying I'm not giving Ray Kroc credit, but you give it to him for his drive to do things. I respect that part of his portrayal, and that's Michael Keaton in this movie is like, you feel the like, I gotta do this now. Like he's like begging them at the beginning, like you gotta franchise it or whatever. So I give it to that performance level, but yeah, just spiraling into this craziness is like makes it just like it's a negative type of subject, but it's a really well built movie. Like, and being under like 2 hours too is like it's like the perfect length. It's like it gets going, and the editing is like, you know, it's not let's just call it the pacing of this movie is really really well done, and I applaud them for that. I need to look up who even directed this.
And
anyway.
The thing is too is like what kind of really starts to piss you off when you look back on it is like he tells the brothers, oh my god, what you guys have here is revolutionary, like the world needs to know about you guys could change the food industry forever, you know, like because of you. And
it's
he's
like it was in his plan the whole time.
He hypes them up, and then he just rips it all away. And it's very good. I will say this though, if you have not had McDonald's in a while and you watch this movie, you will want a cheeseburger. I'm just telling you now, you will just, even though you know it's going to be shitty,
you know.
But back then their patties weren't frozen. They were freshly cooked. And Tristan and I talked about that. She's like, I bet a cheeseburger back then tastes a lot different than what the cheeseburgers do now.
Oh yeah, I bet McDonald's tasted amazing probably back. It probably like tasted like, we have a place down here called David's Burgers, and like that place is like homemade, like really like they actually, you know, cook it. It's not like the fake stuff, and it's just, you know, I bet McDonald's seemed to always kind of go with the smaller patties or whatever anyway, but a small version of like the best burger ever. And I was even interested seeing like their system at the beginning of the film where like everyone gets the same condiments no matter what. Like that nowadays is like, there's no such thing of just like, here's your menu and this is what you get. It would be like if like everyone now was like, everything on here is the Travis Scott meal. Like you have to get the onions, the pickles, like everything, and a Sprite only. I mean, I don't know what drink they had. I don't even think it shows.
They only had Coke back then. That was it.
The placement too, by the way, of like the old logo on the bags and everything, like just the team behind this film, really creative, or whatever you want to call it, the creative team just really like put it together with like the old stuff. And I've seen the picture of that original building. It looked exactly like it. Mm-hmm. Like really, really well, I guess set design, as you can say. I'm sure that none of that was like CGI or anything.
You can still actually go to the very first McDonald's ever. It's still open and it still looks like that. It was the one they never modernized. I mean, obviously like the inside's modernized, obviously, to keep up with like the supply and demand, but the outside's still all the same. And actually the back half of it is like a museum, and you can walk through it. And it's really, really cool. You can actually look up Adam the Woo actually did a video. Yeah. And he went there and did it. That. Yeah. And it's definitely, it's cool. But just, the movie was just, again, like Trav said, it's just so well done. But, you know, to talk about, you said you have that burger place where you are. When I lived down in Florida, there was a burger place that I loved to go to. It was called The Daily Grind. And the people that owned The Daily Grind, like the owners, worked there. But The Daily Grind owners also owned a butcher shop. So any meat that they got in was from, like, the butcher shop that day. So those burgers were as fresh could be. Like, literally just cut off the cow.
Nice.
And they were so good. Oh my God, were they fantastic. Probably the best
Dustin's
burgers
ever
I've
down
ever
here,
had.
I'm showing him David's Burgers. I think he'd be obsessed.
Oh, probably.
But yeah.
Pretty cool. What else can we talk about here, huh? Let's see. Go on.
Like filling in the gap with like what else can we talk about, like making the sentence last longer.
Yes. I know Oro's really excited for this episode, so shout out to you, Oro. Also, big thanks to anybody who did purchase any merch or even looked at our merch. If you're considering it, you know, the season's changing. Get yourself a nice premium pullover. I'm telling you, it is worth every freaking penny on there because I have one in red, and it's super lightweight, it's super soft, it's cozy. Trista likes wearing it. By the way, Trista repped our shirt all day today.
Nice.
She is a big supporter of what we do.
I've been finding myself, like, whenever my Bearded Bro shirt is clean, I've been finding myself, like putting it on before I record a video. I'm like, it looks good in videos. I'm going to just, like, even though, not all the time you can even really see what it says, but, like, I did that reaction video the other day, and I was like, I'm going to actually plug the podcast, because I really, like, I even said it in the video, like, I don't do this enough, but I have a podcast with Dustin, and, like, I put the logo on screen. I was like, that looks nice. I took the time to be like, hey, a lot of you probably aren't podcast listeners, but for the particular people that do like podcasts and do like, because I do, I know Dustin's kind of getting into podcasts as well. And, yeah, like, I just wanted to kind of represent that, because it's like, not everyone's going to find something like this. So
No.
it's nice to just put it out there. And I've had comments before. Like, I remember whenever, like, I did a certain review, and I think I may or may not have told Dustin this. I don't even remember. It wasn't really that important. It was just one of those things where you get a comment that just kind of makes you like, really? Like, it's, in a way, it's hate. But he said something, like, this guy said, like, we don't really want to hear, like, what other projects you have going on. We're focused on this review or something like that. And I'm just thinking, like, and I sent that to a few other people, just kind of just showing, like, what kind of hate you can get on YouTube and stuff like that. And it's like, and everyone agreed with me, like, because one of my friends said, has this man never heard of plugging? Like, literally, and it's not someone else's work. It's your other channel.
And the thing is,
your other thing that's on Spotify and all that, like, but channel on all these other platforms too. Just kind of letting them know, like, I literally spent, like, maybe 30 seconds saying it. 30 seconds of this man's time. Most of the rest of the review is literally about the review, and he went out of his way to pinpoint that 30 seconds and, like, comment something. And I know that it's something that I should just forget, but I do keep remembering that sometimes.
It bugs you. And you got to think, too, it's like, if you don't want to hear it, just because you don't want to hear it doesn't mean other people don't.
It's always fast forwarding, is what I tell people as well.
Yeah, literally.
I skip through YouTube videos all the time.
Oh, yeah, you just tap on the corner. It skips 10 seconds at a time. Just boom, 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 boom. That's it. You hear Trav start to plug it. You don't want to hear it. Just skip the fucking video. Because guess what? You clicked on the video, already gave us a view, so you're a fucking clown anyway. That's the way I look at it. Yeah, it's like,
literally, if you don't care about what I have to say, like, I don't want you there anyway, because I want people that are subscribed to me and that watch me. It was clearly, the way that he said that was clearly just a come and go person. Like, he just, like, he passed by and he had to say something. He couldn't not say that. He couldn't keep it to himself. He had to say that to put down the fact that I'm just plugging my podcast on my channel, just because how else am I going to get the word out there that it exists? Like, Oro and, like, other people know about it kind of through Twitter. They're kind of in our, like, circle of, like, I know Oro pretty much came from, like, your side of the call it your side of the family, whatever. I don't know how to word that.
I know what you mean.
But
my side of the
from
unit.
your audience, I guess. And, like, it's cool though, because, like, we get these interactive audiences that's, like, they bounce between. Like, Oro followed me on Twitter, and, like, I don't know if he's all about food reviews, but it's like, hey, there it is if you wish. Like, I just put content is just like, hey, this is what I do, and if you want to accept me, then do it. And I like people to watch me and watch my content for me. And, like, I've talked to Elizabeth Ricard about this, like, literally for like 2 hours straight one time, because she's really big into the food review community. She's not a food reviewer, but she's in there. She's on everyone's comments and everything like that, and she's a really, really great person. Shout out to you, Elizabeth. But I don't know if you're gonna listen to this, but she's kind of like I don't, podcasts, like, she just really likes watching videos, but I totally understand. And I told her one day, because we've talked for like 2 hours straight about stuff, we got to get you on. Mm-hmm. She's going to be shy about it, but we got to get you on the show. Anyway, so I've talked to her about that, like, how she agrees with me. It's like, it's more, you subscribe to somebody because of the content they're putting out, but then you start to almost build this, like, you get attached to the person. And I think that's really beautiful with YouTube, is like, they may not talk to you, you may not become like best friends or anything, but you just like, you start to respect them for who they are. And like, that's kind of, and that sounds almost prideful or something, but I really always liked that. Like, because that's like one of the bonuses of YouTube, in my opinion. There's so many different things about it that matter, like the content. Like, obviously I watch like Alana Pierce for like her opinions on like the new Xbox prices and all this stuff.
Oh, we did want to talk about that.
Yeah, we didn't.
Well, let's do it now for 5 minutes.
But and yeah, and I was pretty much done with what I was saying there. But yeah, it's just it's a downer sometimes whenever. But I've told like Papa Eats and people like that in the review crew, like, look guys, like they're, you know, talking about and showing screenshots of hate comments, and I'm just like, look, it's gonna come with the territory, and you just have to learn to like have a little bit of a thick skin about it. Because if I don't know, I've never been the guy to go on comments and like just block and block and block and block. Like, everyone has free will to comment whatever the heck they want, and you know what? I'm gonna keep your comment on my video so that you kind of are like, you're out there. Like, what you said, your dick thing that you said to me is like, it kind of you're just pointing yourself out. You're basically like, hey, look at me. Okay, I'll let you shine. I'll let your like dick ways like let's shine, like what you're saying and the mean thing that you're saying. Like, it just shows what kind of a person you are. And so that's just how I see it. And anyway, moving on. You want to open up about the Xbox?
Yes. Today, Microsoft has announced the Xbox Series S. So it's like...
Which I'm not getting, by the way. I'm just going to get the regular one.
Right. Now, it's kind of like what Sony did with, like, you have your PlayStation 5 and you have the PlayStation 5 digital. The Xbox Series S is the digital version of the newest gen console. And I mean, if you already own a lot of games or you don't really buy discs a whole lot, the Xbox... Ooh, excuse me. The Xbox Series S is definitely the way to go because, you know, it's digital, and I already own a bunch of games, and it's a good price. It's only coming in at $299, which I was actually shocked to see that. And if you have Game Pass Ultimate and you pay that $15 a month, you have unlimited access to hundreds of games, and it's not a bad route to go. I have a lot of games that I want to play on the next gen console, so I will probably spend the extra couple $100, whatever it may be when the time comes, and get the one with the disc drive. That's just because, like, again, like I've like Jedi Fallen Order and like just other things that sometimes just having the disc of is super nice. But
and Blu-rays. Me and Ashley looked at it like that too, where like I watch movies on my Xbox or PS4, so mostly Xbox. We literally always have, like, me and her have used our consoles as like the way to run the movies. So we're kind of like, I know digital is starting to be a thing too, and streaming with movies as well, but I think that it would be a safe bet to, like, if I'm gonna keep growing my Blu-ray collection, because I'm just kind of an on-the-shelf type person, I like to see my collection in front of me, then the regular Xbox One X is probably going to be the way to go. Plus, Xbox I'm not really Series hyped X. About, I think the S is going to be like a lower grade anyway. Like, they kind of released some details where, like, I think it is 4K, unlike the regular S, like Ashley has in the bedroom there. That's the Xbox for the bedroom, is the Xbox One S. It's a bunch of S's and X's, and it's very confusing, kind of, but to tell the general audience. But, yeah, like, the S, the regular S that we have is not 4K, but then I have an Xbox One X in the living room, and it is. So I think they're just upgrading the S, the new S, so confusing, to 4K, but then, like, I don't know what it was that I read, but it was something that's like, it's basically they're saying it's still not going to perform, though, like the regular Xbox One X, or Xbox Series X, the big freaking refrigerator one.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I'm just kind of like, even though supposedly that main one's going to be $500, I'm disappointed because I think if you would have just made it like, that's 300 and then the regular one to be 400, that would have been really, really, really reasonable. But 500, okay, so basically just the original Xbox One price, I do believe. But that's okay, I guess.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
once you buy something like that, you have it for a long time and it should last. So
there's pros and cons to both of them.
worth.
I get the whole digital thing. You know, we live in a digital age now, and it's not bad. I mean, like, you know, I also stream. I make YouTube videos. Like, I want to get the highest possible quality I can get. So like, it makes sense for me to get the Series X as like above the Series S. But if you're just a casual gamer and you don't stream and you just like to play with friends and you don't really care, you know, if you're in 4K or not, which a lot of people don't, the S is the way to go, man. Just pay the $15 a month. You know, get the Game Pass Ultimate. I have it. I pay for it now. I have been forever. It's literally the best deal.
Amazing.
It's the best deal in
highly
gaming you could ever get. Hands down, it's the best deal in gaming you could ever get. And it's awesome. I mean, yeah, like if I didn't stream and I didn't make YouTube videos, would I mind having a Series S? No, not at all. I'm still going to get 4K gameplay and just go digital. And I would be completely okay with that and content with that. But because I do create content, I feel like for me personally, and yes, I like to watch movies too, and so does Trista, like it just makes sense to just spend a little extra and just have the top of the line at that point in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's pros and cons to both. You know, I'm not going to get one right on launch because there's always issues with that stuff. Just going to wait it out a little bit. Unless my Xbox absolutely like shits itself and dies, then I'm not. And it says November too. Like we're getting it in November. It's a given. It's shit's going to sell out in November. It's going to be...
Yeah, can you imagine if they do like a I don't know what exact date, but man, Black Friday? Ooh.
It's going to be... Well, see, Black Friday when the Switch came out, the Switch was still full price. It didn't matter. You just got a bundle for the price of the Switch, which is what I'd imagine they would do. But I mean, they're always going to release it around the holidays because it's going to sell so well. So I'll just probably wait till after the holidays, let the hype die down a little bit, and then just go from there. Like I said, unless my Xbox now absolutely shits itself, I don't have the need to get one at launch.
Yeah, and real quick, isn't it gonna be like, for example, me and Ashley play games in 2 different rooms together. It's just basically like being on Xbox Live, just in the same house. So, do you think? I don't even know. Maybe you can be the one to tell me. Do you think like if I got the Xbox Series X for our living room? And then we because of course we're not spending $1,000 to get 2 at once unless we just somehow strike some kind of amazing deal. Then we'll get one for the living room, but then we'll have to wait a little bit to get hers. So her playing on a regular Xbox One, is that going to be interactive and be able to like, or is it like kind of like the jump between 360 and the One where it's not like the same? You can't just like jump into parties.
Oh no,
together on
it's
360 to One.
It's the exact same. You can still play together.
I was guessing that. I was guessing what you just like corrected because I think we're over those ages of like, oh, it's a complete new upgrade. Because I'll say this about real quick before we wrap it up of the new consoles is they just kind of feel, and this is just a feeling, like 360 to Xbox One / PS4 was a jump. Like that was like how it used to be, like PS2 to PS3 and so on. Is like nowadays these new consoles that are being released every like 2 or 3 years, however many. I mean, it's been a long time since the One came out, but it just feels like we're in this time where it's just a general sequel. I'll just call it a sequel upgrade. Like it just kind of feels like we're kind of over the ages of like it being such a big jump to have next gen. Like next gen,
it's not.
Every gamer kind of knows this feeling too, where you're kind of hesitant when you hear next gen nowadays. I know I am. I'm kind of like, yeah, but how next gen is it really gonna be versus what the Xbox One X I have right now? Like, literally, that's what I'm thinking is I don't have 4K TV, but I can do 4K. It is fast. I can tell that it's faster than the regular Xbox One.
That's just it.
Like,
it's just going to be...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, if you have a fucking 1080p TV, it's pointless to get the next-gen console because it's going to be no different from your Xbox One. It's just going to look like a mini fridge on your desk or on your dresser, wherever it's going to be. It's like you have to have a good TV to experience it for what it is going to be. You know, like, I'll get it again just because of content creation and everything, but like my TV that I use in my setup's not a 4K TV. The only 4K TV I have is in my living room, and you know, like, I'm not gonna move it just to go down there and be like, oh my god, this game looks fucking amazing. You know, it's like, no, like, if I ever have to eventually get a 4K TV, which I won't have to for a while.
4TKV.
Yeah, 4TKV. I'm tired. It is literally like 2:09 in the morning.
Yeah, 2 o'clock for you. Real quick, recommendation? Or are you just gonna drop the watch The Founder? No, that's not mine, but I'm curious about yours.
My recommendation is, yeah, definitely check out The Founder. Don't spend $48 on a Travis Scott t-shirt. And the meal is probably a waste of your time and money because McDonald's likes to fuck everything up. So,
wow, this whole thing's been about, like, McDonald's burn, like, even down to Travis Scott. Like, it's literally so funny how, like, we're talking about a movie that's kind of old now, something that happened a long time ago, but then there's, like, this Travis Scott thing happening right now. So, basically, we're kind of jumping in on McDonald's is trending, so we're going to talk about it, but that is not why.
And I love Travis Scott. This is no disrespect to him, but, dude... $48 for a t-shirt, man, is fucking ridiculous. You are a multi-platinum recording artist who makes millions of dollars. Fuck you and your $48 t-shirts.
My quick recommendation is this, and I recommend this to Dustin as well because I have not mentioned this to him. If you guys like podcasts, and I'm not about to plug ours, if you guys like podcasts, but you also like video versions of itself, and you like movies and you like actors and kind of learning more about actors, and maybe you want to watch a show about two actors talking together. Maybe Dustin has seen some of these, I don't know, but it's called Actors on Actors. I have been obsessed with this lately. My favorite one so far is Brad Pitt talking to Adam Sandler. And it's about 30 minutes, but sometimes they're literally almost an hour. And it's just literally like they're sitting in this office, like you got the Actors on Actors logo and everything. It looks almost like a freaking like TV show where you have a guest, but it's literally no one else on screen except for, like, for example, Adam Sandler sitting across from Brad Pitt, and they talk about like so many things. And it's usually because they're in a movie. Like at the time, Adam Sandler had just put out Uncut Gems, and Brad Pitt put out what is it? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So they like compliment each other, talk about how great they are in the movie, kind of behind the scenes, like kind of just talking about it. Adam Sandler really was like, Uncut Gems was an intense movie to be in, but I loved it and all this stuff. And it's just really cool. Like, there are so many episodes with like two different actors talking to each other. My other favorite one is Jennifer Lawrence, or not Jennifer Lawrence. Wait, isn't Jennifer? J-Lo talking to Robert Pattinson. And, like, Robert Pattinson, you're cool, you're a charming guy. And, like, that was such a weird mixture to, like, see two people talking together, but it worked. It's, like, there's a friendship there. Like, I don't know, it's just really cool. And it's just, like, two actors supporting each other in every way, and it's a lot of fun. So if you like stuff like this podcast, where you don't mind listening to people talk for, you know, a little while, even shorter amount of time, and you love movies and just kind of getting into like the art of it and like actors talking about their films, watch it, because honestly I've learned a lot about just different actors, like just how they are, because it's literally just them talking, it's not them acting, it's literally just them as a real person talking to another actor, and it's really awesome. So highly recommend that. And with that, listen to us, guys, on, I almost said Twitter. Listen to us on Twitter. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the listening platforms are listed below on the YouTube version of this podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. And, Dustin, is there anything you want to say before we go?
Nope.
Just nope. All right, guys. We'll be talking to you next time.
See ya.